So what do you guys do? What makes you different? And has that changed since you started the company 2.5 years ago? Have you spotted opportunities in the marketplace to where you said, hey, we need to pivot and start to provide X or Y?
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we do? I think about this from the standpoint of like, what is the dream outcome for the clients that we work with? And the dream outcome for me, for the clients we work with, is that when they lay their head on the pillow at night, they know they're doing everything they can in their personal financial life to maximize all the sacrifices they're making. Because the reality is, what we actually do from a strategic standpoint is going to be different for everybody, because money is different for everybody and how they think about it and what they're trying to accomplish. But the dream outcome is that they sit there and they say like, hey, I know I'm good. I know that I'm doing everything I can possibly do to maximize all the time, the effort, that sacrifices that I'm making in my personal life, whether that's building a business or otherwise, to support my family or reach the goals that I want to reach. To your second point, what makes us different? When I think about that question, I think about the last question you asked is like, what has changed? One thing I've been very cognizant of since we started this business is, what are things that we can do to go deeper in the client relationships that we have, both from a strategic standpoint, but also a psychological standpoint, for the specific clients we're working with. So if we're talking about athletes and entrepreneurs, the areas that they have their greatest needs are going to be far different than if you were a traditional retiree or you were a corporate executive. And understanding what those issues are and saying like, how can we best solve that problem? How can we best solve that problem to, one, give them back their time? How can we best solve that problem to make that happen as fast as humanly possible for them? And ultimately get them to that dream outcome where they're saying like, hey, these guys are such an integral part of my team. I don't feel like I could be doing everything I'm doing without them.
I think athletes and entrepreneurs in general are very comfortable with risk. So it sounds like a part of what you guys do is, like you mentioned, helping them sleep at night, is providing them with that risk management in their finances.
Yeah, it's helping to give them a fresh set of eyes that gets them outside of whatever their traditional way of thinking is. Every athlete wants to be an entrepreneur, and a lot of entrepreneurs want to be athletes. And the reality is, no matter what you are in life, it doesn't mean you're going to be good at something else just because you were good at the other thing. One of the biggest challenges is like, they're so comfortable taking risk that how do you help show somebody that maybe sometimes you don't have to take as much risk, that you can create optionality by taking a little bit less risk in some areas of your life that can ultimately benefit the areas that you are taking the risk in. For the athlete, it's saying, hey, I know we've made a lot of money and you potentially have this great lifestyle, but remember, we have another 50, 60 years, Lord willing, to live and be able to support yourself and be able to support your family. And for them, it's figuring out, how do I start using the money that I have, not only to live the lifestyle I want, but also start to explore things that are going to potentially give me purpose when I'm done playing.
Do you guys combine the financial element with different insurance products, or do you view that as one and the same?
So we do not sell any insurance products. We advise on insurance products. And I'll tell you the reason why I feel very strongly about this is, when I was 18 years old, I got sold an insurance policy that did nobody any good except for the individual that sold me the policy. He made a lot of money on the policy. I didn't know that at the time. And insurance is a unique beast because 99.9% of people need some form of insurance. And the reality is, I don't know what the percentage is, but let's call it 90% or more, buy the wrong type in the wrong amount for the wrong reasons. And it's such an interesting thing because it's an integral part of somebody's personal financial life or their business for a lot of different reasons. But the way that it sometimes gets communicated and sold can be a bit of a challenge.
I think I understand where you're going with that. The incentives are misaligned if you're selling the product versus consulting on the product.
I would say so, yeah. One thing that for me, I always wanted to make sure of in this business, and it came from a lot of my own experiences, was I never wanted the clients that we work with to be able to sit on the other side of the table and even have the slightest thought of, are they recommending this because it's better for them or it's better for me? One of the most rewarding things I had recently was we had a new client come on, and I asked them after they came on, I said, you know, what led you to wanting to ultimately, they booked a call, we had a discussion, they became a client. And he said, you know, I just wanted to have somebody that I knew was going to do the right thing for me. And it's sad that anybody that's giving you financial advice should be giving you financial advice that's in your best interest. It's sad that I even have to say that, but it's what my mission is in this industry as a whole. There's a lot of advice out there that just frankly, like, it's not in the best interest of the client. It's in the best interest of the company that's selling the product. It's in the best interest of the advisor that's pitching the product. And I'm hoping to change that.
Well, for what it's worth, I think you are the perfect person to change that. You have this self-discipline, which is very evident in the way you take care of yourself and you control every aspect of your life and to improve your life daily. And also, you seem very honest and you're independently wealthy. So you really don't need to get wealthy by misguiding someone. Yeah. Not to say anyone else needs to do that, but for you, there's definitely no incentive there, especially if your goal is just to grow the best business you can build.
Yeah, and I try to be totally transparent, both through stories I share, whether that's online, but a lot of times with clients is I'll share unique details and specific details of like what I'm doing. And I'll tell them like, here's how I came to that decision. That doesn't mean that they should be doing the same thing, but I do think it helps to build trust. Ultimately, like, I'm in a trust business, and what a huge blessing it is when somebody says like, hey, Jacob, like, we're going to trust you with everything we've worked for. It's also a huge responsibility, but I want to always be instilling back in them that like, we are on the bus with you. And I want all the clients that we work with to know that the advice that I'm giving you is the same advice that I'm taking myself. It doesn't mean that we're invested the exact same way because your goals are going to be different than my goals. But the reality is like, I'm eating my own cooking. And I tell people that. I told an athlete that here recently that was interviewed in a couple different firms. And I said, I'd be happy to show you like exactly what I'm doing, like my statements and everything, like here's exactly what I'm doing. And for no other reason, just to show them that, hey, everything that I'm talking to you about is what I'm doing with my own money.
Are you able to share what you would advise a young athlete on if they were to come to you and say, hey, you know what, I just got a $5 million signing bonus and I want to place that with Moment, just very high level?
Yeah, first step is we want to build the team. Look, this is a team thing that we are in. And the way that I describe it is we try to be the quarterback of the team. But if I think about an athlete or an entrepreneur, really, who else is on the team? Generally, there's going to be a CPA on the team. Generally, you're going to have some level of attorney on the team, most likely an estate planning attorney. You're going to have an insurance agent for things like life insurance if there's a need there. You're going to have a property and casualty agent for things like homeowners, auto, umbrella. Step one is helping to build the team of people around them, finding trusted, vetted experts that are A players in their space that can all be consultants on the team, that can give their advice, that can give their 2 cents around here's some strategies, some solutions that might make sense. I think the second thing is helping those young athletes, but really for anybody, helping them understand what the value of a dollar is. The value of a dollar for every single person is different. And what I mean by that is the value of your dollar is going to be different whether you're an 18-year-old or whether you're a 38-year-old or whether you're a 68-year-old. One, because you have a lot longer to potentially invest money or do different things. The other way it's going to be a lot different is if I gave you $1 and I said, hey, Raj, how much do you think you can make on this dollar in the next 10 years? That answer is probably going to be different than what I would tell an athlete because there's different skills that you have that might be able to take that dollar and maybe 2 or 3x it versus the athlete might be saying like, hey, really all I need to do with the dollar is hit singles and doubles because like I got this big payout versus the entrepreneur might say, I really need to make sure that like I capitalize on this dollar before I start hitting singles and doubles over here. So step one, build the team. But step two, just understand what the value of the dollar is for you as an individual.
When you say build the team and you mentioned all these key players, are these key players that are third parties that you're bringing to the table? Yeah. What if the athlete said, hey, I have 3 people that I want on the team? That's, I'm assuming, not a problem on your end?
Yeah, I am not in the business of breaking up good relationships. And that's the line that I use. And the way I describe it is every single person on the team should be being held accountable for the work that they're doing, including Moment. If we're not doing a good job, I would hope the CPA would go to the client and say, hey, I saw some things on the tax return that just don't look right. I think you should ask these questions. That is the ultimate goal, that every single person on the team is being held accountable because whether it's the entrepreneur that we're working with or whether it's the athlete they're working with, they are hiring us to do a job for them. We are a small piece of their success. they're the ones putting in the hard work. It's really our job to help protect it. And when I think about that team, I love it when people bring other individuals to the table. We have those conversations. We're in those meetings with them. And if at any point they feel like, they've either graduated from that individual or they want to talk to other people, we have a group of people that we can bring in, that we can interview as well.
And the team that you would bring in from day one, that's a team that can grow with the athlete or with the entrepreneur as their balance sheet grows.
Yeah. Yeah. The way I look at it is, we have athletes all the way from guys that just got drafted to guys that are making tens of millions of dollars a year that made the all-star team. We have entrepreneurs that are just hitting the J curve in their business, to entrepreneurs that have been doing this thing for 30 years and are exiting their business and getting their big payout. You want to make sure that the people that are on your team are the right people for each stage. And the people that you started with aren't always the people that you finish with. And it's really our job to make sure that the people that are on your team are the right people for each stage. If you're an entrepreneur, you're an athlete, and you're just starting out, chances are you don't need, CPA 1, you might need CPA 2, because they're really focused on that group of people. But as you continue to progress, and now all of a sudden there's more complexity in your business and you have 10 plus employees, there might be some more things that you need in your business. So making sure that the people on your team are always consistent with the stage of growth that you're at.
And how did you develop the network of folks you may recommend?
On the athlete side specifically, a lot of the people that we help build the team are people that I have come in contact with over the last 15 years. Athletics is a big world, but also a really small world. And it's kind of like St. Louis. You're like one connection away from everybody. So that's how we built it on the athlete side. On the entrepreneur side, a lot of it's been over the past 2.5 years building the business, and even probably the year and a half before that, just continuing to go out and find vetted experts and asking to see copies of their work. Let me see the work you're doing for clients, and also holding them accountable and telling them I want to be held accountable too. But if we review every client's tax return, that's not because I don't trust their CPA. That's just simply because we're all human beings. And at the end of the day, there might be a mistake there. If there's a mistake there, I want the CPA to get better. I want us to get better, because ultimately we are hired to do a job for the client.
That makes a lot of sense.